Hi Positive Readers, it's Positive Writer today with another video, and today I want to be telling you all about the most favorite books on my list that I read this year. I am just so elated to be here today to talk about all these amazing books because this year was such a great reading year. I have 2 more books to read to reach my 75 book reading goal and 2 more days in the year. So today and tomorrow, that's all I got, and I'm going to finish it. I know I will. I'm reading a book right now, and I'm going to read another one, and this is going to be it. And then the year's going to be over, and my goal will have been reached. And I had such a fun time reading all the books that I read this year. I read so many amazing ones, and you know, the bad books that I read the number of them was such a small number compared to like last year, and it made me really happy to realize that because I read so many bad books last year. It was just like, wow, that's not good. So I'm glad that I brushed out my genres a lot more. Read a lot of things out of my comfort zone and stuff like that, and started reading ebooks also because ebooks really helped me get my read count up because and to read better books because a lot of times I would like not read a book unless I could get the physical copy of it, which is not possible all the time. So ebooks really helped me. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the books that I read this year that I really enjoyed the most. I have 13 of them on this list, I'm pretty sure. 12, actually, again, which is the same number of books that I had last year. So we love that for me, and let's just get into this because there are a lot of them on this list, if you consider 12 a lot. The first book on this list, number 13, is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Flynn. I read this book earlier this year, and it's a thriller book, and it's about this woman who has agoraphobia, which is basically like the fear of going outside or leaving a familiar space. And so she's kind of like confined to her house, and she starts watching these people who are her neighbors across the street from her, and then she witnesses something, and then a whole bunch of stuff gets uprooted and stuff, and it was such a great book. I enjoyed myself immensely. The amount of twists and turns that it throws at you was just amazing. I loved how it was done. I love the writing style. I love the characters. I just love the complexity of the story, and like it didn't tell you everything ever really. I really enjoyed it. I really found myself immersed, and I read it in like a night, and I was just baffled. I was running around my house like, oh my god, I can't believe this just happened. I was jumping up and down. It was an experience, but I really enjoyed myself. It was that good. I just really had a great time. Next book on the list, number 12, wait, sorry about that, number 12 was that one. Number 11, Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. This is another thriller book. A lot of these books on this list are thrillers because I read so many thrillers this year, and they're all, mostly all of them were amazing. This one is about a woman who lives in this small town and stuff, and all her friends are going to get together for a book club, but one day, this book club is sort of infiltrated by this woman named Rooks, Rue. Forgot how to pronounce her name. But anyway, she kind of comes to their door and kind of like worms her way in and basically becomes the center of attention. And she wants to play this game called Never Have I Ever. But it's not just Never Have I Ever normal kid stuff. It's like, you know, what's the worst thing you ever done type Never Have I Ever. And then it's basically about her blackmailing them and using like the stuff against them to try and uproot their lives and get what she wants from them. It's an amazing book. I loved it. Absolutely. It hit me by surprise because I had this for a while and I read a little bit of it and then I kind of like forgot about it and went on with my day. But then weeks later, I read it all in one sitting because, like the rest of it, and it was the day that I was supposed to go to school. Sorry, people who are in my family that might be watching this, but I needed to finish it, and I finished it, and I was just like I could not go anywhere until I finished the book, and it was just like, wow. I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. The plot twists in it and the action, the suspense. It was an amazing book, and it's one of the best reads I've ever read in my life. So there's that. Definitely read it. 5 stars for sure. All these books have 5 stars. I mean, why wouldn't they? Next book is number 10 on my list, and that is Two Spirits, One Heart by Azumi Marsha. Sorry if I didn't pronounce her name right. I hate myself because she's an amazing woman, and this book is something that I just read a day ago. This book is a memoir written by a mom who has a transgender son, and basically she's talking about her journey to accepting him and stuff. And I thought I was gonna stop there, but then it ended up like expanding as like how their lives continued after his transition and stuff, and it was beautiful. I cried. It had so many great quotes in it. I have highlighted everything. I read it on ebook on my phone, and I highlighted so many things. I usually don't highlight things, but at least 2 quotes from this book ended up in my favorite quotes, like note thing that I have on my phone, because it was a beautiful story. Absolutely, she's an amazing author, and the fact that she's real, that her and her son are real, and I like this stuff that they were talking about in the book actually happened, just really warmed my heart. It just made my day, and it was a great book. And I'm gonna be reading more memoirs in the future because I love reading about real people. I love my fictional people too, and of course fake stories about like fantasy worlds and even like thrillers and stuff. But you know, it's something really nice about reading something that's real about real people who like actually went through the stuff and are now coming out on the other side happy and better for it. So it was a beautiful book. So definitely recommend it. Go read it. I highly recommend. Number 9 on my list is When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore. This book, I found it on a list of like books with like trans characters that were like YA books, and it's a romance novel. I was like, I wasn't like, ugh, but like I was like, you know, romance is not my genre. But anyway, I read it and it was amazing. It's whimsical, it's great. It was magical, it was beautiful. The writing style, everything I was a little confused in the beginning because of the writing style and because of the story. It's basically about this girl and this boy, and the girl has like, she like jumps up from like, she comes out of a water tower or something, and she kind of just surfaces there, and you know, she has like leaves growing out of her arms. It's a really weird book, but it's not like, it doesn't read like it's weird. It reads like it's a magical fairy tale, and basically this boy is the only one out of everybody to come and help her, and the boy is the trans one, and it was a beautiful book. It was amazing. I cried my eyes out. It was absolutely beautiful. Loved the romance. I loved the story. It was amazing. It was great. And it was short too. All these books are fairly short also, so if you just kind of want some reads that are just really good but also really short, read every single book on this list almost, because trust me, like, they're all very worth it. And if you don't usually read books, definitely recommend a lot of these because, you know, it's pretty short and it's still amazing. Next book on this list is number 8, and that is Someone We Know by Cherie Lapina. Just thinking about this book and saying the name of it made me smile because it was that good. A thriller, another thriller on the list, and basically Cherie Lapina is now one of my favorite thriller authors, maybe my favorite thriller author of all time now, because of this book. And basically, this book is about a family, but mostly about a mom whose son goes and breaks into people's houses, and he doesn't steal anything. He just hacks into their computers and kind of like looks around. But the mom gets it in her head after she finds out to like send anonymous apologies to the people whose houses he broke into, to just kind of tell them, you know, someone did break into your house, but he didn't do anything, and you're fine. Don't worry about it or whatever. Which was dumb on her part, but anyway, yeah. So she decided to do that. She didn't want to confront them and have everybody know it was her and her son. So, and then at the same time that this is happening, somebody in this neighborhood, this tight-knit community, dies, is murdered, and like a car accident type of situation. And it's like, it goes from there, and it's an amazing book. It's like, you know, at the same time, obviously these two really problematic storylines are like colliding, and it's like, wow, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, you know, could he have something to do with this? It was so good. It was amazing. I loved it. I love how Cherie Lapina writes her thrillers, the way that she kind of like starts off with action, and then all the rest of the book leads up to where the start of the book was, and I loved it to death. I love it to this day. I still remember the ending and the great plot twists and stuff, and I will read it again one day for sure because it was just amazing. Number 7 on my list is Forbidden by Suzuma Tabitha. This book is, woo! I wasn't gonna read it. I knew it was gonna be sad. Everybody I knew said it was sad, and I knew it was gonna be sad. But I was like, you know what? I have to read it. I want to read it. I was in the mood for something really angsty and depressing and tragic, because I have watched a lot of stuff that was like that, especially my favorite show, which I've rewatched so many times this year, Bates Motel. But I also wanted to read something tragic and completely and utterly ridiculous and dark, and you know. So I read it, and it was just really. It was as sad as I thought it was going to be, actually more sad than I thought it was going to be, and I cried my eyes out, but it was amazing. It's very problematic. It's about like a really controversial topic. It's basically about his brother and sister who live in this like really shitty living situation, so they've kind of like become the surrogate parents of their siblings because their mom is really like negligent. She's like an alcoholic and stuff, and she always leaves and stuff like this. So some stuff starts brewing between them because they kind of feel like they're already like mom and dad, because the mom is gone and the dad's gone too. So it's just kind of like, you know, that, and it's kind of like this tragic story of these two and like how they navigated this with like a family basically to take care of. It was a beautiful book. I cried. It was not okay. I really had some problems, but it was amazing, and I definitely see myself reading it again just because the story was written beautifully and I like crying, so that's really nice. Next book on my list is number 6, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Read this back in January, I think, and it was amazing. I thought it was going to be amazing, and then it ended up being even more amazing than I thought it was going to be. This book is great. I wanted to, one of my resolutions for the year was to read more books with black characters in it, and this book checked all the boxes. It has an entire cast of black characters, and every single one of them are amazing. Inan being the main one that's amazing because it's my favorite character. And you can go watch my 30-minute book chat on this because it's a pretty long book, but I flew through it because it was that great. This book was amazing. It's about this girl named Zelie who lives in this this like tribe / village, basically in this kingdom where magic is now illegal because some years ago magic wielders took over the kingdom, and now this king that's in power does not want that to happen again. So he basically kills everybody who has anything to do with magic or takes him away and stuff like that. So Zelie is basically growing up in this town, and she finds out she has magic, and then it just goes from there and stuff. And she also is being hunted eventually by Inan, the prince of the king who makes magic illegal, because her sister runs away, and you know, it's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. I don't know why I just kind of like told you basically the premise, but you know, whatever. Read the book. It's definitely a lot more than I just described because it's really long. It's like 500 pages. I recommend this. I definitely do. I really enjoy it. Will not be finishing the series because the second book stuff happened in it. I found out that something at the end of this happened and I didn't even realize it happened. So when I started the second book, I was like, wow, what? And I'm not going to read it because I can't. I will not continue the series. But I'm not going to tell you what because I don't want you to like know. I don't want to spoil it for you. But anyway, this book is definitely worth a read, and I will be rereading it one day because it was amazing. Next book on the list is the top 5. We're up to the top 5 books of the year, and I'm excited to talk about these because they're all amazing. The first one, number 5, is... Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thought I was tripping. Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This book was just great. It was the second thriller that I read ever and of this year, and it was absolutely beautiful. Gillian Flynn I already knew because of Gone Girl, and I read that this year too. It did not make it on this list, but it's fine. It was an amazing book, and it definitely matched the movie. It's really hard to find book and movie adaptations that match up with their stories that well, but it did. But anyway, Dark Places. It's about this woman who when she was a little girl, her entire family basically was killed. And now it was a big deal when she was a little girl and stuff, and she got like book deals and money and stuff. But now she's a grown woman and she doesn't really have that anymore. She's kind of like falling off because other people die and stuff like this. And then all of a sudden, this kind of organization approaches her and they're like, you're gonna get your brother out of jail because everybody accused the brother of doing it, and he's the one in jail for the crimes of her family dying or whatever. She got out. But yeah, so now they're basically coming to her like, tell us what happened. We're trying to get him out of jail, and it goes from there. And it's a great story about like sacrifice, about love and family. It was beautiful. I cried. It was amazing. I loved it so much, and I just thinking about it right now, I just have such a love for it. It was just great. So definitely pick that one up. Next book, number 4, is Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard. You're probably thinking, why in the F is this so high on this list and everything else so low? Well, because this book was really important to me as a person. The book I did not read. I did not read this book. I read every page with Maven's name on it, which probably amounted to about 50 pages, probably less. I have an entire book vlog up on it when I read the entire thing in one sitting on my bed right there, and I talked about it and cried and all this stuff. But anyway, if you're interested, go watch that. But this book right here gave me the closure that I needed to kind of get through the grief that I felt over Maven. Spoiler alert, Maven Kalor dies in Warstorm, and I did not accept it. I went through every stage of grief, denial, anger, all that stuff, and to finally come to acceptance and healing after this book, because it wrapped up his story in a way that I didn't expect it to, and it ended up being like something I really needed to hear. And it also was it was done really well. Cal was written really well, even though I freaking hate him. And so was Bear, and basically it was kind of just this thing of, we probably did the wrong thing by killing him, but we can't change it because he's dead. But we have to, you know, move on and whatever. And I had to feel like I had to move on because I always felt like I was stuck in this grief with him, and now I'm not anymore, and it feels great. But I still miss him a lot, and this book kind of just really helped me, so that's why it's so high. Yeah, but not really the book, kind of just like the last half, so that's really nice. Anyway, number 3 on my list is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Robinson. This freaking book, you guys, YA Fantasy and me have been on the outs more this year than ever before. And so, I read this book and I went into it thinking it was going to be, I didn't know, I didn't have any expectations, but somebody said it was good, so I was like, you know what, why don't we just kind of sneak a little YA Fantasy in among all the thrillers and adult books that I read. And it was so worth it. I am so happy. You can go watch my book chat on that too. Most of these books I did not make book chats for, which sucks because I love all these books, but it's fine. This book right here deserved a book chat. This book, Sorcery of Thorns, it's about a girl Basically, she lives in this library. She's grown up among these librarians and stuff, and among books all the time. And yeah, so basically, she's a part of this world, this very, very fantasy world where books can like come alive and turn into monsters and stuff if they're like a certain type of book called like a grimoire. And somebody lets loose this level 10, which is like the most deadly grimoire, and basically it kills somebody who she's really close to, and she has to like fight it where everybody else is asleep because she's the only one up for some reason, to find out that this thing is out and about to go kill people. And she does, and then they think that she's the reason why it got loose, and so they're gonna take her prisoner. It's such a great book. If you love fantasy novels, I can't stress this enough. This is the most fantasy book I've ever read in my life, and it was done so well. The romance is amazing, and I hate romance and YA fantasy because all the time it overshadows the fantasy, but it wasn't. It was just there, and it made it even better because it wasn't overshadowed. There was always a romance there, but it didn't take away from the fantasy at all. It was amazing. It was done well. It was non-generic. She's taller than him. She's taller than her love interest. The side characters are amazing. The squad, the family, it was amazing. It's a great book. Definitely recommend checking out my book chat because I adore this book, and I talk about it really a lot. The last two books on my list now. Number 2 is A Good Enough Mother by Bev Thomas. This amazing book I saw when I was in New York for BookCon at a train station, Penn Station. I walked into a bookstore that was like randomly there, and I saw this book and I was like, this looks great. I've been looking for mothery thrillers all year, and still am. I love thrillers about moms. It's like a really thing that I'm like addicted to. Anyway, so I saw this cover. I'm like, A Good Enough Mother, what? And then I read it, and it's about a mother who, her son basically ran away a couple years ago. He like disappeared, and he left all his belongings and stuff at the house, and she has never found out where he is. And she's also a therapist. So one day, a boy that looks like him and acts like him and has some of the same like characteristics and stuff as him walks into her office as one of her clients, and so she starts being conflicted on whether to be the therapist or to be more of a mom figure because she's like kind of projecting the fact that she misses her son onto him. And it was so good. It was more of an emotional thriller than a thriller, and some people don't like that, but I absolutely loved it. I think it was perfection. The first half had me thinking it wasn't going to be perfection, but then the last half completely like blew all that away. And when I read it again, I know I'll appreciate the first half more because you needed that first half that was kind of slow to get to the last half, which is amazingly fast and great and just so much. And I love this book. I cried my eyes out on this book. It was amazing. It still touches me deeply today when I think about it, and it was just absolutely done so well. I love it. It was just great. So the last book on this list, the first book on this list, the best book that I read all year, and that's my favorite book ever now, is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is the longest book I read this year, because this year I read a whole bunch of short books to like get my reading goal, and I did it successfully, so I know that was a good choice. But this book right here, I read it during the ATLA-a-thon, the Avatar Last Airbender-a-thon, for one of the challenges that had nothing to do with even like the content really of the book, but I'm glad that I did because it was amazing. 771 pages, I'm pretty sure. That's a lot of fucking pages. And I saw another book with that many pages, I was like, nope. But that book right there deserved every single page. I read it on the way to a field trip, and then I finished it, like, I read it over the course of like a week. This book, it didn't ruin my life. It kind of did for like a couple of days because, okay. First, it's about a boy named Theodore Decker who lives in New York with his mother, and his mother dies she dies from a bomb that somebody set inside of a museum that they're in. And basically it's about his life. It's literary fiction, so it's about his life basically up until the age like 24 or something, and basically his dealing with his grief and like just going from like house and stuff with his dad kind of like not present, stuff like this. And it was so beautiful. I never realized that I would like be so attached to a book just basically just about somebody's life, but turns out I loved it, and it was great. It was everything that I could have put into a book, and it was philosophical. It was like, he's a philosopher, so he's like really introspective, and he's really moody and like sad. He's like a sad person, but the characters are great. His best friend that he meets eventually is my favorite character because he's such a complex but beautifully written character, and I don't even know like the words to talk about this book. There are none. This book was just absolute perfection, and I love it. I love it to death. I saw the movie later on this year after I read the book, and it was amazing. Did the book justly justice. So if you watch the movie and haven't seen the book, wow, that's really nice. But anyway, read the book if you haven't read it. It definitely puts the movie in perspective and makes you like feel it even more. It was great. And this book is really going to immerse you. It grabs a hold to you. I was reading this book, and in the parts where he was really, really sad and depressed, I was really sad and depressed. And I noticed that my mood was getting really, like, trash when his mood was really, and I was like, wow, why am I so depressed because of this book? And it was amazing. But it came out, and it was great. The end was amazing, and I cried so much reading this book. It was just amazing. And it was ridiculous how many tears I cried. But I mean, 700 pages of a whole bunch of emotions it's bound to make me cry. I'm just that type of person. But anyway, it was a great book, and it's my favorite book ever now. It was absolutely, like, the best thing ever. So, I hope you enjoyed me talking about all my favorite books of the year. I hope you read some great books also. And I'll see you guys later with another video. Bye.